Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Eyes of the Opposition series, in which we, or rather I, take a look at who we're facing this week, and with the help of a journalist or writer from the opposition side, I ask them questions to give you guys the most in-depth knowledge about the opposition you could possibly want. Now, of course, this show comes off the back of yesterday's upload, which was our first tactical breakdown of the series with Drew and Graham. We broke down the Newcastle win, everything that you could want in a nice little 15-minute package. So please do go and check out that video, because it is going to be a clear fixture and feature throughout the season, and we can't wait to provide more of that content for you. But let's get straight into today's show. Of course, please, if you're enjoying the series, please give it a like, please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and if you want to tune in for some of those live shows that we do in which you can react in our live chat and ask myself and the guys questions, you want to turn those notifications on so you get told straight away that we've gone live. But today, I'm really glad to be joined by Andy Jones. Now, Andy Jones writes for The Athletic. A lot of people will know about The Athletic by now. It's a paid service in which you can get top quality content straight to your mobile device, laptop, whatever, and you're not going to be clickbaited or anything like that, because you know that you're paying for some top quality content. So please do go check out Andy Jones's content and the content on The Athletic as well. You've got the likes of Gunner Blog, James Nicholas, should I say, is on there, David Ormstein, Amy Lawrence, all those guys. So please do go and check that out. But I'm really happy to be joined by Andy Jones. All his details are in the description if you want to go and follow him on Twitter. But he's obviously for Burnley, and so we're going to have a chat with him and ask him some questions. So let's dive straight in and ask him the very simple question of the fact that obviously the first game of the season against Southampton, Burnley performed really well, got a 3-0 win. But what were the key successes of that game?
Yeah, there were plenty of successes for Burnley last Saturday. I think it was a very interesting game, actually. It was quite even for the first 60 minutes. Southampton started the better team, and then Burnley, worked their way back into it. But it all changed on that first goal with Vestergaard's mistake and misjudgments with the weather, and Barnes put Burnley in front, and then they controlled from there. But I think the main thing was to put 3 points on the board early doors. They started the season really poorly last season with the Europa League distractions. It took them a while to get the first win. So I think, and Dyche made this point in his press conference, it was important for them to hit the ground running, and I think he was very pleased with that. I think that's Ashley Barnes as well, 2 goals for him. He didn't score in pre-season, so it was good for him to find the back of the net again. Two really good finishes, to boost his confidence. But I think overall the second half performance was the biggest sort of success, if you like. When they really controlled the game once they went in front, they made Southampton change their style of play a little bit to suit Burnley, and then they sort of controlled the game and ran out comfortable winners in the end. Nick Pope as well, back between the sticks. With Tom Heaton gone, you assume he's now going to be the number one. And he looked really solid. He hadn't played a Premier League game, he didn't play in the Premier League last season, so it was good to see him. But he didn't have much to do. He made a really good save from Nathan Redmond at the end of the first half. And Ben Mee, the new Burnley captain, and Tarkowski in front of him, they all seemed to look comfortable with each other. There wasn't many major defensive issues. And in the defence as well, Eric Peters, new signing, brought in this summer, 2 assists in the game. The second one was absolutely superb. It's a lovely ball into the box, put it on a plate for Ashley Barnes. And he fitted in really well, and he looked like he'd been there for a while. It didn't look like he was trying to fit in. He fitted in well. And then lastly, Jay Rodriguez returning. He was at Burnley. He's from Burnley. So that he got a really good reception when he came on off the bench, and there was plenty of successes, and a lot for Burnley fans to be really happy about.
So very positive it seems for the boys from Turf Moor. Of course, playing against Southampton. The Southampton are a team that I expect to be still down there and fighting for their survival in the Premier League. So who knows whether Burnley will join them at this early stage in the season. But of course, now facing a much tougher test against Arsenal. And one of the men that is definitely going to be key in possibly getting 3 points or 1 point at the Emirates is their manager, Sean Dyche. Now, Sean Dyche was, of course, linked away during the summer, even though he's well under contract at Burnley. But whilst they did some summer business in terms of transfers, for me, their most impressive piece of business was certainly keeping the manager at the club. So how key was that for Burnley moving forward this season?
Yeah, I think it was massively important for Burnley to keep hold of Dyche. I mean, I don't really know how, sort of much there was to those types of rumours, but he's so important since he came to the club in 2012, and the job he's done is superb. He guided them to the Europa League, not last season, the season before, and he consistently gets them to where they need to be, and avoiding relegation and building and going on an upward trajectory, and that's through him and the culture he's built and the identity. He's not bothered. What everyone else thinks. He will play his way, and he's not afraid to say that, and and that's the way that works for Burnley. And I think as well, he's all the players that he brings in or he's got with him, they back him 100% and they trust his methods and he trusts them, and it's just so important. And if Burnley were to lose him for any reason, they'd probably be in a bit of trouble. But what he's done for them is superb, and he'll be looking forward to this season, and hoping they can finish as high as possible and not have the struggles of the relegation threat which they had at times last season.
Now, whilst Sean Dyche is of course extremely impressive as a manager, and keeping him, as we've said, is as equally impressive as the manager himself, Burnley still haven't had the best of records when they've come to the Emirates. Quite a few defeats on their roster. Do you expect that to change, or do you think that it's going to be more of the same?
I think it'd be interesting. I think the first thing for Burnley is to make sure they keep things as solid and tight at the back as possible. Ben Mee and Tarkowski will be extremely important in that, and Nick Pope's probably going to have to be at his best in goal. But I think there were plenty of good signs for Burnley against Southampton. The Dyche will have been happy, and he'd be looking forward to this game. I think in terms of just to seeing how they go. And I think Barnes and Wood, it'd be unlikely for Dyche to change the team. I think he'd probably stick, maybe change on the flanks, Goodmanson and McNeil. He might want to go a little bit more, protective. Maybe Jeff Hendrick comes in for one of the two. But there were a lot of good signs, and I think the main thing, as I said, was to keep it tight and 100% effort and work rate, and and harrying and hassling and not allowing Arsenal to have any time, and I think importantly limiting the space in behind. The pace Arsenal have got and the players they've got to to pick the passes. It's important that they Burnley don't gung ho or leave too much space for Arsenal to exploit, and they'll still be confident that they can go and score a goal themselves and try and get something out the game, and I think they'll be very compact and then look to counter attack and hope that Barnes and Wood, if that's the combination, or maybe Rodriguez and they can hold the ball up, and then they can try and get runners getting forward and causing problems.
Tight, compact, defensive. We as Arsenal fans know plenty of teams that come to our home ground and play in this style, and I'd like to say that we've worked out a way to play against it, but Arsenal always seems to struggle when they come up against this type of style, and if that's what Burnley are going to employ, it would be very, very wise of them to do so, because we've seen so many teams get so many results and so many points from playing in that style at the Emirates. So it's going to be intriguing to see if Burnley do employ this and how well. And in terms of that, especially when they need to hit us on the counter, as Andy says there, I'm interested to know what type of players that we should be really mindful of on Saturday. Of course, Ashley Barnes has been a bit of a pantomime villain for Burnley against Arsenal, getting a lot of jeers from the fans, especially in our last run in at the Emirates. Do we expect to see him as a key fixture, or should we be looking out for anyone else?
Yeah, I think you've mentioned them there. Ashley Barnes is probably the man who Arsenal fans will probably be most concerned about. He, with his 2 goals last weekend, it shows he's in form. And he put in a really, really good performance, especially second half. That was Ashley Barnes at his best in terms of the physicality, the work rate. It was all there. And then his finishes, he took them really well. He was alert at all times. And made the Southampton defenders' lives really, really difficult. He scored in both fixtures last season as well. Both defeats, but it shows that he's confident against Arsenal and he can score the goals. I think as well with Arsenal's defence, it's there's still question marks. There's been attempts to David Luiz has come in, Tierney's come in, so that hopefully that for Arsenal fans they can make the difference. But Barnes doesn't make any central defender's life easy. He's constantly working really hard and never giving him a moment's peace. I think as well. His mates up there, Chris Wood, if you like, another big physical presence, to deal with for Arsenal, and he, same as Barnes, they don't give you the chance to sort of rest. And then I mentioned it in the last question as well, in terms of how Dyche will approach the game, but in terms of the two wingers, McNeil and Goodmanson. Goodmanson's goal against Southampton was excellent. Nicks the ball off Bertrand and then goes the majority of Southampton's half on his own and then finishes really well. So both players have got pace, both players can dribble with the ball and hit teams on the counter attack. And I think that they're another concern. If Arsenal, they'll be pressing forward, and if they do leave gaps, then Burnley will try and exploit it. And Jay Rodriguez as well. There was he had a really, really good pre-season, and it was a little bit of a surprise that he was left out actually of the first game. But he's shown in pre-season that he's in form, and he's scoring goals and making things difficult for defences. So he's another one who could cause a concern.
Now, it's always interesting to get an outside opinion on the Arsenal. Of course, we as Arsenal fans are sort of akin to a little bit of bias here and there, it's fair to say. So as obviously looking on from the outside in, what have you made of Arsenal's setup this season? We've made quite a few changes in terms of personnel, bringing in a fair few players. And has that been felt from another team, definitely from a Burnley perspective?
I think when you look coming into the summer transfer window, and the supposed lack of money or funds available for Arsenal, the strength, and they've had an absolutely superb window. I think Nicolas Pepe is an excellent buy. He's showed his quality, especially last season in the French league, and Arsenal fans will be hoping that he can bring that over. He looks like he's got all the attributes, pace, power, and an ability to finish. As well, they've looked defensively as well. That was probably the biggest issue last year. It was the biggest issue last season. And they've brought David Luiz in. He was a good side, clever sign, if you like. Good value, and he knows the league. He's been here for so long, so it's not going to take him time to adapt. And Kieran Tierney is a really exciting prospect. He'll come in and hopefully hit the ground running for Arsenal. But it's something that it's a wait and see in terms of the defence. I think Danny Ceballos looked when he came off the bench against Newcastle, looked really, really, really neat and tidy. He looked a good player. So yeah, I think when you look at it, it's really exciting for Arsenal. I think the front three especially. If you can get Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Pepe all fit, firing, and in the side, that's a phenomenal front three, and a really a prospect that no defence in the league is really going to want to come up against. And they've got the midfield looking solid. They lost Ramsey, but I think they've still got Mkhitaryan in there. He didn't have a great game against Newcastle, but he's still got quality undeniably. Ceballos looked good. Xhaka's still there. Guendouzi, Torreira. So I think the biggest question mark is the defence and whether that can be sorted out. But I think there's plenty to be positive for Arsenal. I think the business was, for the summer, they've got to be pleased with what they've done.
Oh, yes, the defence. It always comes back to that, doesn't it? Every single time. We know we've got the supercar front line, the four-door estate, probably sport version for the midfield, and then a little a little freewheeler for the defence. That's pretty much Arsenal's front line. midfield and defence right now, but it is improving indefinitely, and I think Andy knows that, and obviously an improving and positive window is going to see us hopefully perform well at the Emirates on Saturday. Maybe we'll see Pepe unleashed with Aubameyang and Lacazette as a front line for the first time. That'll be exciting. But with all that as hypotheses right now and hypotheticals, is it a strong prediction that you've got, Andy, or do you believe that Burnley could actually pull something out the bag in this game?
I think it's going to be difficult for Burnley. Arsenal's home form is very, very good, and Burnley's form against Arsenal is very, very poor. So the sensible suggestion would be that Arsenal, will take home 3 points. But I think Burnley will be, they'll take a lot of confidence from the Southampton game. There were a lot of positives in it, especially in the forward department. Barnes with 2. And some of the attacking play, especially second half, was very, very good, and Sean Dyche will be pleased with it. So, they'll go to the Emirates and with the hope of getting the result. The important thing for them will be to stay compact and limit the chances that Arsenal get. But I think overall Arsenal's attacking talent will probably be a little bit too much for Burnley. I expect it to be a close game. I think Burnley will make them work for everything. But I think with the attacking talent that Arsenal have got in the starting team and what they'll be able to bring off the bench, I think Arsenal will edge you. But I think Burnley will put in a really, really good performance, and I'm going to go 2-1 to Arsenal, I think.
I like it. Loyal to the bitter end back in his team, but still very level-headed, it's fair to say. And you can obviously understand why I come up against a side like Arsenal at home. As Andy states, our home record is very good. If this was at Turf Moor, I would be leaning more towards Burnley possibly getting something from this game. But I think that, as Andy says, our attacking talent and will come out on top. And I'm personally going to be going for a 2 to possibly 3 goal swing for the Gunners. And yes, Arsenal fan bias, I'm well aware of that, but no, I think it's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a chance to see a lot of players on show, and it'll be a chance obviously Sean Dyche to show what Burnley are definitely capable of. But a huge thank you to Andy Jones for coming on. Obviously, as I said at the beginning, you can check out his stuff. His link will be in the description at AD_journalism. And you can obviously check out all of the athletic stuff, of which Andy writes for. Some really fantastic writing there. And really exciting time to be a reader in this journalistic world, especially when the Athletic are coming out with some really quality stuff. So please do go check out both Andy and the Athletic moving forward. I'm sure that you'll see some other journalists from them throughout the season. But that is going to wrap up our Eyes of the Opposition show for this week. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give it a like. Please subscribe if you're new with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. And of course, please do go check out the tactical breakdown that we did of the Newcastle game. It's a really, really good insight into how we played, some of the positives, some of the negatives, and some extra stuff as well, especially with the insights of Drew and Graham too. I'll see you again very, very soon. Maybe not so much in this environment that you can see me in now, because on Saturday I'll be returning home, so the normal environment will resume. No more dropping phones in hot tubs, I promise, or at least I can try. But enjoy the rest of your week. I know that I will, and I'll see you again very, very soon for a preview of the Burnley game from just myself and hopefully you guys in a live show. So of course, turn those notifications on so you can tune in for that in our live chat. See you soon, and as always, up the Arsenal.